Can we all make a hypothesis of the next 10 years? We go one by one. How does the world change in 10 years in relevance to the conversation we've had just now?
I think, broadly, everybody who knows how to use AI will be on one side, they'll be rocking the world, right? On the other side, I think there'll be people who will appreciate, keep consuming,
Why do you think people who know AI will be rocking the world? Because they themselves will be replaced in a way by the AI.
Yeah, there'll always be a small percentage, right? If it's, 0.001% of the world, that's that, percentage that will, know how to prompt engineer, all of those things. And they will be very, very relevant for the future. They will define how this world works. They will define the rules of the new world. If you look at Instagram today, everybody behaves the same. So the consumers of the technology will all start behaving the same. They'll all look the same. Like on Instagram, everybody's doing the same poses, the same clothes, the same places they go to, So similarly, these guys will define the rules, these guys will follow.
This whole podcast was a prediction only. This is what we've been trying to do. Right?
Paint a Orwellian, dystopian, Tanmay's version of 2033.
Oh, man.
What if you just chose to log off all this and live in Goa?
I'm already I'm planning a fruit business. I'm going to grow fruits and sell them. Fruits.
Yeah.
Exotic fruits. Like rambusteen, mangosteen, rambutan.
Yeah.
All that.
I think like the positive sides of AI, which is what I like to talk about generally with some of my friends, right? Like I've worked with colleagues and where I'm already telling them, saying, hey, leverage AI, use it for whatever. And then that gets me thinking that, hey, listen, the tools have gotten better and better over the last decade. But tools are in abundance, but the curiosity is what is actually missing, right? So I fear a general feeling of like whatever social media did to the next generation's brain, AI will probably accelerate it. And that is kind of worrying, which is, I think envy will go through all-time high for those who are able to leverage it. Outside success for a lot more of your peers, which means you'll probably get way more envious, and that'll make you, react in such a way. That is my biggest concern, which is this next generation is gonna be even more dopamine loaded, even more this thing. So tools have existed, but most people don't treat YouTube as a school necessarily. So it'll just get more heightened with AI. So that it's almost going to be Darwinian, like those who choose the site to use it. Yeah. It's that the results are going to be compoundingly higher.
On your point of dopamine, the frequency of dopamine hits have been increasing, right? Like our parents used to have a regular life, and then dopamine, once in a while when they went on a holiday or experienced something, they would get a dopamine hit or whatever. Then we got technology, we got addicted to more. As you said, I think AI will give us more dopamine hits per hour or per minute or whatever it is. And then if we don't get it, even for a minute,
it's like a drug, yeah.
Yeah, we're going to be addicts to AI or AI generated stuff that, if you're not part of it, once you're part of it, you're addicted. If you're not part of it, then you're going to go through a depression.
My inclination to learn more about AI just came out of pure fear. Like it was fear, then the more I started dabbling with it, it became a little more fascination.
It's still fear, right?
Some of it is still fear.
Fear of missing out.
Yeah, it's FOMO.
No, fear of
obsolescence. Is that
and
the right
missing
term?
out.
Irrelevance.
Missing out to me are the same thing.
Yeah.
But missing out is too short term.
But I'm saying it can change quickly if you start dabbling in it. The fear can turn into fascination more and more. The more comfortable you get with the idea. Just don't have a rock brain, have a sponge brain and see how to go with it.
I think that's a very good point. Everybody should be like that. Varun?
the biggest driver of strife across history is the disgruntled elite or a fallen elite. And I think we're about to have that. We're going to have these bunch of software engineers, white-collar workers, just be out of a job. I have to go back to being Uber drivers or like delivery. There's nothing wrong with being any of those things, or a petrol pump guy. There's nothing wrong with being any of these things. But these people will not like it. Like, I used to be this, now how can you make me do this? So I feel like...
we are white-collar workers.
What about their moats? Because they have cash and capital and all.
How much? Like, I don't think too much of India, like, I read something about America. I don't know if it's true for India, but most people have like 1 month paycheck or something like that.
Yeah.
That's America, I think.
That's America.
How many months in India?
I can't remember the savings rate. I know
It's much higher.
India and China are
It's about
typically like
20%.
1 year?
more. I
Runway?
think.
20% per month.
Got it. So let's say that expires, and that's going to expire sometimes. That's going to expire some point. I think they're not going to be happy. And either way, nobody likes losing a job. Even if you have a runway, it's like, yo,
Yeah.
I had status. Why did you take it away from me? And have you ever seen somebody who gains status and then lose it? They get desperate. Like, you can see this with YouTubers, okay? Super relevant for like 6 years, 7 years, 10 years. And then when they start dipping, they start going and creating the most extreme content. They're just like, please, I want to be relevant. Anything, I'll say anything, do anything. Yeah, I'll say anything, do anything, slit whoever's throat just to be relevant.
Every industry.
Yeah.
Right.
Actually, every.
So why do you feel that the elite in India, the white collar elites in India, I think they'll also do that at some point, right? So my strategy is very simple: make enough money to build a giant wall, get my favorite people inside the wall, okay? Maybe 30, 40 houses or whatever.
Is that why you were asking me about Goa?
Yeah. Yeah.
So basically, we're all logging out and going to Goa.
Maybe Trump had the right idea.
I know Trump said sounded, but Trump did it for different reasons.
Nityananda has cracked it. He's found his own country. He's
Dude,
living
in jail now.
Man, he's in jail now. The man is like incorrigible.
Please edit this out.
So you build a wall, you'll put all the people you
because
like.
see, because if you have a scenario like this, I think
How
the
will
law.
you sustain inside these walls?
I mean, we'll have to figure things out. It involves a lot of the thinking steps that you've been going through. That's why that conversation is fascinating to me, which is how do we figure out energy? How do we figure out water? How do we figure out,
I think for food, the best answer is not using the mediums you're used to, but something like hydroponics.
yeah,
and
like
water.
we'll have to
have to
figure out
do
how to
that.
farm in a smaller space.
You can actually. So in my house in JP Nagar, on the terrace, we have a, what would I say, 400 square feet, 500 square feet hydroponic farm. It easily produces enough for
for the family.
For a family. Yeah, that's a good thing, right? And it's just like, my worry is like people will end up getting very violent. The law is going to be full. They will not be able to handle so many instances of violence because people are just not making money, right? Like, you look at a state in India that's not making that much money, you have similar issues but at a smaller scale. And if the law is overburdened, it gets even worse, right? So I'm just going to protect myself and protect the people I love. I know that sounds very selfish.
No, it's very happy sounding.
No, I said, I know
What
it
a
sounds...
joyous few minutes it's been.
The one guy who
So much
understands
love you've
AI
given the
most.
world.
Dude, look at Sam Altman. Sam Altman is like, he said this in an interview. Imagine he runs OpenAI and he said this: I've kept guns, gas masks, gold, potassium iodide.
gold, guys.
Potassium iodide.
My wife should not
Something that
guess.
resonates with me.
And antibiotics.
Really?
Not jewelry.
And antibiotics. He's like, I just have these 6 things, I put it in a package, and that's going to be my... And this, can you imagine the CEO of any bloody company at that scale talking like this, saying, my tech is going to be so blah, 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 that I need all these things, you know, as my... Like, I don't know any CEO who would say that.
Where did he say this?
Said this on like an interview. It's public. It's guns, gas masks, and something else.
A lot of people
Gold.
are making this use case for gold. Even because of, not wholly because of, but partly the banks failing, interest rates
correct,
going
correct.
higher, fractional banking, all of that.
So that's why that math is very important to me, right? How much does it cost to build a wall and have these many people inside and figure out whatever, all the water, this thing. And that can be a good driver for me. Worst case, if it doesn't happen, then I've still
but then-
generated enough money to do that.
But do you think that's the nicest way to live?
No. No.
Like, if
No,
that's,
absolutely not.
If that's your assumption of tomorrow, today can't be happy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't think it should
So I
be
can do
like
a
that.
little bit of detachment also. Tomorrow, worst case, if shit happens, It's fine. We get
Like what
buffeted by
we were
it.
discussing earlier, indifference is cool.
Yeah.
You're going to die, maybe 10 years, you won't live, you'll die in 5 years.
It's called, there's this thing called indifferent attachment, okay, where, or distant attachment, where you can live in the moment, you can be happy, you can have a long-term goal, but be like, if I don't accomplish those long-term goals, or if things goes to shit, or if things go to shit, it's fine.
I have a tattoo to remind me of that, see? There's no point, there's no tomorrow. Today is today. And that's all there is.
Yeah. Yeah, so,
But like genuinely, like as a 30-year-old, so intelligent, like significantly more intelligent than I individual who's like, has a wife and is probably going to have a kid and all that. I don't think...
living in a state of pessimism is good.
Yeah.
I know. That's why I said-
He's not this bad unless you prod him.
Yeah.
If you prompt it.
We just prompted
I have
you.
some friends who are like even worse, so I know this.
Yeah.
I deal with this.
Like he laughs at jokes and all. At a party, he'll smile. If you ask him to wave, he'll wave.
But imagine, like, just think, like, take yourself away from here and put yourself in 1939 when World War was
This is
happening.
obviously much better.
And everybody was dying at 30, or go to the Black Plague, or go to 1919, or go 200 years ago.
No, that
or
I
some-
agree with.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
So life is bad. The question is, do you fixate upon the negative, or do you look
No,
for
I'm
the
not
positive?
looking at it from a negative. No, that's what I'm saying. I think this might happen. There's probably a 10 or 5% chance it might happen. Like I also know that the odds are not 100%. It's a 5% chance that it'll happen. It drives me to the extent that, I need to make enough money and have these things that are important to me in one place. It's a great motivating, like a large scale motivating desire for me, right? To do this, to build my own small mini universe, I would say. And if it doesn't happen, cool, but at least I've worked towards it. But if it doesn't happen, it's okay, right? 95% of the time, things are going to be okay. So it's like, that's why I said, it's not doomer to the extent where I will make significant life changes. It's just I have a long-standing goal and I'm like, okay, I'll try to hit that goal.
So 5% odds of this happening.
Yes, 5%. But 5% is enough of an odds to be worried about because you could have tangential paths, which are not as bad, but still, have this thing. I think either way, having community living is not a bad thing.
Yeah, that I broadly agree with. I think making a house for 25 of your closest friends.
The only question is there a wall or not? And I'm like, just for safety, I'm having a wall in.
And the guns. So my prediction is I think none of this is going to happen. I think governments are smart enough at some point of time when they see this is a weapon of mass destruction, right? Now, you could argue whether the nuclear proliferation treaty was fair, whether we were treated fairly as a country within it, whether, even the United Nations is a functioning agency. Do we have agency of our own? They can argue this for another limit, but I think there are two sides to it, and I will just abstract this from the way I look at it. I think economically, the world will progress. India will progress. It's bound to happen. Every country in the world is weakening. You could argue we're growing at 3, 4, or 5 or 7%, whosoever's data you want to believe. But we will economically progress. Now, the thing that worries me is the point that you raised earlier, which is, are we creating enough employment? And are we creating enough sustainable employment, right? And to the point that you're saying that, is it dense enough? Is it, look at our cities are crumbling, right? There's no infrastructure. Everyone's moving from rural to urban, and that's not the way to live, or that's not the way sheer economic growth is going to happen. So I think my prediction for the future in 10 years is, one, yes, this is a weapon of mass destruction, is the way I'll frame it. Weapons of mass destruction around the world. There will be one example of a Hiroshima and a Pearl Harbor. I'm sure they will happen, to your point. But I think it'll soon come under curtail, right? There will be some proliferation that'll come around the world to align to cause extinction or any of this not happening. Having said that, I think the goal for leaders or the goal for whoever is setting into the next 10 years is, while we may be economically progressive today, but to maintain that demographic dividend, I'm hoping that we can create those sustainable jobs. My view is, I think when we were born, we knew what our lifestyle of our parents were. And I can safely say the lifestyle we lead is significantly, when we started our careers, was way better. And that's a function of being beneficiaries to everything that we've seen, technology, mobile, growth, all of that. I think 10 years out, we will see that. But if we continue down this path where we don't care about the environment, we don't care about, the point that you were raising, is the uniform...
universal basic income.
Yeah, universal basic income, a thought, right? I think we're going to have to change our thinking, but I don't think it'll change in 10 years, Nikhil. I think it's going to take a little bit more than that. I think we'll see economic progress. I think we will see a better future. And I'm optimistic that we will take some decisions to stop weapons of mass destruction, but more importantly, create a sustainable set of jobs. And to the threat that AI has, it does put in a large threat on those jobs. When I look at it, look at 2000, 2008. Every financial meltdown, and you're the expert here, right? Why hasn't the Indian economy ever got rocked? You could argue is because, good or bad, we've got a federal bank that is bloody strict. Even to do one stupid credit card transaction, now you have several OTPs and, different... You don't have an SVB happening here. I don't know.
I'm not saying it.
I'm looking at you. Just smile and wave, Nikhil. Just smile and wave.
So...
No, I like the central bank.
You like the central bank. They sent me here to get that out of you.
What do you think is going to happen in 10 years?
Me? You know what being a stock trader 19 years full-time has taught me? Nobody can fucking predict the future. I think.
But you can have odds. I mean, you can have odds. What's your optimistic prediction? What is
My
your...
optimistic expectation is productivity goes up across the world, across the board. UBI comes into play. UBI brings some kind of equanimity across the world. Like I was saying earlier, I think capitalism works relative to everything else we've seen. But the version of capitalism we have probably has to change to a version where the anomalies, right? The people who have disproportionate, disproportionate rewards of capitalism, they have to become a bit more benevolent. It can happen either through tax slabs, inheritance tax, property tax, estate tax. I think UBI will create an ecosystem where people who want to pick capitalism can pick capitalism. Otherwise,
Or play base level socialism.
Base level socialism, and I think those two exist hand in hand. I think I don't know if this is true, but I have two people I work out with in the gym. They just went on a holiday to New Zealand and came back, right? The husband, wife, married couple. They were telling me in New Zealand, most people do not care who you are, how much money you have.
Correct.
It's a very, it's a different, it's a different society, but it works, right? Like you can choose to do what you want. He can choose to do what he wants. I think we'll go to a world like that.
Why are you so question is this the idealistic Nikhil?
I asked him to paint the
He
optimistic
said
world.
optimistic picture.
Okay, so
I want to hear the pessimistic
I
picture.
want to ask you the question, which is this idealistic you, which is the optimistic you? Or do you really believe? Because what you said is compassionate capitalism. We all know that's the answer. We all know how hard it is to get there. Do you really believe we'll get there in 10 years?
I think
Forced manner, I think you're saying.
I think organically, right? Like it's funny I say this because I'm generally a fairly pessimistic person. But I think organically people do right by people over the long term. I'm not talking about the rich versus the poor, the gifted versus the ungifted, whatever. But society, humanity has lasted till this point and it has thrived because organically we kind of do right by each other.
Interesting. So you're not in the Machiavellian school of thinking clearly.
No. I mean, see, I think Machiavelli, right? Like I love his, I mean, he's not got many books, but Prince, for example, or whatever, I think his viewpoints are very myopic, right? Like, he knew how to operate the Medici family, Italy of the time. He knew how to get power amongst the bourgeois of that era. And, you know, his skill sets were limited to that. You can extrapolate and say Chanakya of, you know, Indian. History or whatever. So I spent a lot of time reading random books, right? Like different eras. But the one common trait I think is when push comes to shove, humanity kind of comes together and...
Yeah, we saw this
does
with
what's right
COVID
by each
recently.
other. Yeah, I think so.
What's
I think
a pessimistic picture?
I thought I mixed both of them a little bit. He brought up
What's the
Machiavelli.
extreme?
No, because I found it too idealistic.
Yeah.
And that's why I wanted to know. That is it.
It's fine. No, there's been enough pessimism on this podcast.
Yeah, I know.
It's fine.
Yeah, let's stick to that.
Yeah.
What a
Yeah.
nice, soothing way to end.
Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yes. Love. Hi, I'm Nikhil Kamath. I'd love to know what you thought of the episode. Comment, like, and subscribe. And thank you for watching.